Well, happy Sunday, everybody. Here it is another live chat Sunday. And this just happens to be, what is this, the last Sunday in June? Yeah, Father's Day kind of ate us up last week. So here we are again and ready to start another discussion on something really, really fun and really, really interesting about the painting process and things that's fun to know that you can play with when you're creating your paintings. So as you come in, if you will, members, if you will chat with us, check in with us and let us know you're there and where you're from. And there's Renee from Pennsylvania that has already checked in. And let us know sort of what's going on out there in the world of YouTube so that we can get the thing all cranked up and give you something to go with. So while we're waiting for folks to come in, can you fix the screen so I can see the numbers? So I can see what. Okay. Maybe take me away. I have two screens on. All of you can hear what I'm saying to Roger, but it doesn't make any difference. Courtney from New Hampshire, from Pennsylvania to New Hampshire, and then right down here in Northeast Georgia, actually, we are. Okay, so I can't see still. There are two monitors on mine, and one of them's blocking me from seeing. That one's blocking me, and that one blocks my numbers.
Yeah, the other one can't go away.
Okay.
That's part of the software.
The one that you're moving hard now, can that one go away?
Yeah.
Which one did you take it away? There you go. Now I can see. All of you wonder what I can see. You can see just fine, can't you? But I couldn't see. I couldn't see whether there were people coming in, or I could see names coming down. But okay, Rich is checked in from New Jersey, and Maurice from the Netherlands. See, we are worldwide. So glad to see all of you beginning to tune in to us. So let me just do my usual routine to get started as we were waiting for folks to gather together. So everybody knows how this works. Members get to chat. You become a member by clicking join on any of our YouTube videos. Joining means that you become a Studio Insider member, and that means that you can chat when we're having the chats. You can chat with me, and that also means that every second Sunday, the clip that you send to the members.
The snippet, yeah.
Your snippet, yeah. Every second Sunday, you get a little snippet, a little teaser having to do with composing principles, and which are not dull, by the way. Fun stuff that we can make happen in our paintings. And then every third Sunday, you get a what?
Or fourth.
Every fourth Sunday, third or fourth Sunday, we have a chat. Every first Sunday, you get a free video. Every time the month changes, you get a code for a free video. So once a month, you get a free video download. It's a free lesson. They're usually, most of them are an hour long. So it's everybody's having fun with those lessons, and I'm glad to see everybody have fun with them. And okay, there comes Mary Ellen from Vermont. And there is Babsy from Bobsy. What's wrong with me? I'm sorry, Bobsy. I've forgotten where you're from. Judy from New Orleans. Sheila from Singapore. You're traveling, Sheila. So good to see folks gathering together, and I see the numbers beginning to climb. That's a good thing too. So that's what happens. Let me tell you a few things happening. And then we'll get on with the business. All of you, most of you know, those of you that are members especially know that every month we have a live stream workshop. Live stream workshops are really, really fun. I'm exploring on every single one of them a particular composing, how should I say, tool, principle, a way, something that you can do with your creating your paintings on the composing side that can make them a lot more intriguing and a lot more interesting. So I take one concept in these workshops and I just go deep into it and just break it open for you and show you how it works. And then I do a demonstration for you to show you how I put that back together. And then I give you assignments so that you can put one together, not doing what I did, but using the concepts the same, in a similar way that I used them, or just how they work. And then in 2 weeks after the workshop, we have a group review, which is one of the most exciting things we have ever done, where we gather the group back together again, and the finished work are finished. They don't have to be finished, but the pieces of people are working on where we're using these principles are on a little gallery all together, and each one shares their experience with using these principles. This is how I addressed it here, here, and here, and so on. And they ask each other questions, and there's a learning experience there, because a lot of times they thought of things that I hadn't thought of, or students end up teaching each other. It's a really, really exciting thing. So if you're interested in our workshops, or at least seeing what they're all about, go over to DianneMizeAcademy.com. When you search for anything, remember my name has 2 N's in it. My mother did that. So I always use the 2 N's. DianneMizeAcademy.com, and in the menu click on workshops or Diane's workshops or whatever it says. And so we usually keep everybody updated about the workshops right there in that slot. Also, if you're not yet on the mailing list, you can get on the mailing list from the Academy. There's a place in the contents in the menu where you can click and get onto the mailing list. We have recently joined Substack, which has been one of the most exciting things happening in the world of internet these days. And that's getting to be a really, really exciting experience. And so I also want to say here, now the YouTube stuff is all by itself. It's its own thing in one little unit. And everything that happens over on Substack is something totally different, not even connected. So if you have a membership on YouTube, that's totally separate from a membership on Substack. So a lot of people have been confused about that, and I wanted to make that a little bit of a distinction. All right, I hope enough folks have gathered in now that we can get on with the day and on with our discussion about seeing warm and cool. I tried to show you something here about seeing warm and cool that I would bet I'd make almost about 90% of you probably maybe haven't seen before. So I hope you're going to find this enlightening, and I hope it's going to open up some questions for you, so that after the video you can ask those questions, and we can have us a wonderful little live discussion about warm and cool in our paintings. Well, how that works. Everybody, some people think they know what warm and cool is. Well, part of it maybe you know the whole thing, but we're going to see where this goes. So, now there we go. Let me catch up Terry from Washington. Oh, thank you, Terry. I won't read that out loud. It's giving me a little praise. So, okay, Roger, are you ready?
I'm there.
All right, gear up that video and let's roll it. Here a blacksmith is shaping a piece of metal. Now notice the bright yellow when it's the hottest, and watch how as it cools it becomes orange, then red violet. In the 1800s, this is the observation that led Lord Kelvin to create the Kelvin scale,
a scale that charts the temperature of color and that we use today to gauge the color of light bulbs. And it's the confirmation of how we read temperature on the color wheel, where the colors that are inherently warm are on this side and those that are inherently cool on this side. With the warm colors inherently being here, and the colors that we consider to be cool inherently being here, look at where those primaries are located. We have yellow and red, the two primaries that are warm on the warm side, but we only have one primary on the cool side. If we will accept the Kelvin scale as our guide for which of the warm colors is the warmest, then yellow is the warmest and red is next warmest. Let's not call it the coolest. It's not really a cool color. Cool temperatures are those that have blue in them in their inherent form. If we look at it that way, we say that blue is in all these colors on the cool side, including red, violet, and yellow, green. On the warm side, all the colors that we have that are inherently warm, each is either a warm primary or is made up of two warm primaries. So from between red and yellow, we have, as you can see, red, orange, orange, yellow, orange, and yellow. The two colors that sort of differentiate warm from cool on the wheel itself are red, violet, and yellow, green. And here's something that's not logical. Except for blue, all the cool colors on the cool side have also a warm color in them. But on the warm side, that's not true. In the warm side of the color wheel, there are only warm colors. So red, violet, and yellow, green are the line of demarcation because those two are the first to have both warm and cool in them. Now this is where it really gets to be fun, because watch what happens with the red-violet demarcation on this side. Every hue moving in this direction has the warm added to it until we get to blue. Blue has no warm in it. Same thing happens over here. Beginning with yellow-green, going in this direction, every single one of these hues has the warm yellow in it until we get to blue. Blue is the only hue on our wheel that does not have within it also a warm. And that's why we consider blue the coolest hue on the color wheel. And that's also that combination, the way the hues are arranged on the wheel, which is the way they are arranged in the spectrum. So this is, we might say, a universal representation of all hues at their fully saturation. So you can see now that if you change the hue of any color, you also change the temperature in any direction you go. No matter what hue you select, any one of these other hues added to it is also going to change the temperature. Now here's why. Look at the hues that make up each of the 12 on the traditional color wheel. Let's begin with yellow and take these one at a time. If we move it one slot to the left, we have yellow-orange. We have, in essence, 1 part red and 2 parts yellow. If we move it to the right, we have 1 part blue and 2 parts yellow. Let's go back and move it to the left to the next slot, and we see 1 part yellow, 1 part red. We keep going, 2 parts red for red-orange, 1 part yellow. Red has only red in it. We keep going, Red-violet then, 2 parts red, 1 part blue. Violet, 1 part of red, 1 part blue. Blue-violet, 2 parts blue, 1 part red. Blue, only blue. Blue-green, 2 parts blue, 1 part yellow. Green, 1 part blue, 1 part yellow. And we've already analyzed yellow-green. Now, that's how they're presented on the wheel. But in reality, that is a continuum. As the yellow moves towards yellow-orange, has a little bit of red in it, and then a little bit more and a little bit more until it reaches that point of where visually now, it's 2 parts yellow, 1 part red. And that's how it works all the way around the wheel. And that demonstrates why any color added to another color is going to change its temperature. Now, there's one more thing I want to introduce to you as to the relationship of color temperature. And that is that a color temperature inherent to the colors in their fullest saturation on the wheel are not necessarily going to remain that temperature in the presence of other colors. Let's change this background to violet, and we can see how the disc, being red-violet, feels warmer. Now let's change the background to yellow-orange. Do you see how that red-violet turned cooler feeling with a background of yellow-orange, which is a warmer color? Yet, with the background being violet, which is cooler than red-violet, it feels warmer. That kind of a relationship is more useful when we're painting or when we're viewing paintings than it is with just simple demonstrations like this. Look what Richard Schmid has done with that principle in this painting. He's taken this low saturated violet and used it in this area as a cool and repeated it in this area as a warmer color within this area of cooler colors. And then down here, he's repeated it again as a cooler color within this area of warmer colors. Let's stop here now and give you a chance to ask your questions.
Okie dokie, I'm ready for your questions now. Did anything about in the video stimulate questions about warm and cool, or anything about colors related to warm and cool? I think I neglected to acknowledge that Judy from New Orleans is with us, and Barbara is from New Hampshire. So I wanted to give you all that little update. All right, so while we're waiting for your questions to come in, I purposely did not go into the desaturation of color, what that does to temperature. I mentioned it very briefly when I towards the end there, where I pointed out that Richard Schmid in that particular painting is using desaturated versions of colors. But it's a very, very simple thing. I remember I said in the video that whenever you mix one color into another, you change its temperature. You make it either warmer or cooler. That's just the way, and you can see by the way the individual hues on the wheel, by their contents of how much either it's a pure primary or it's how much of primary and secondary, or primary and another color, etc. Of the three primaries, the proportions of three primaries in each hue. You can see how that works. So you think about it, on the warm side of the wheel, whenever you desaturate, what are you going to use to desaturate? You're going to use something from the cool side, right? So you're going to, as it on the warm hues, when we desaturate them, actually become cooler. on the other side, the cool colors we desaturate become warmer. And it's a very gradual thing, but that's the way the whole thing works. Rich says, if blue is the coolest color, would it stand to reason that its opposite on the wheel of orange would be the warmest? It doesn't work that way, Rich. It's not logical. It doesn't have that kind of logic. Temperature doesn't have that kind of logic because of the two primaries that on one side and the one primary is on the other side. Because the way the thing registers in the way in terms of temperature throws yellow as a primary as the warmest and red as the next warmest. So then orange would be in temperature in between red and yellow. So yeah, it would seem that would be logical, but in the way in the reality, it really just doesn't work that way. We have to look at the temperature of hue. We have to look at it in terms of relationship of every color to blue. It's just like that, or every color in relationship to the primaries. But especially considering that blue in the coolest, and you can see blue coolest, it is the only hue in any saturation. It's the only hue, a pure saturated blue, that doesn't have a warm hue in it. So you can see how that works. It's not logical. You have to, in other words, it's not linear. It's not linear. The things that happen in the way of temperature change doesn't work in a linear way. It's a more of a three-dimensional way. And you would think that, well, I won't get it any more convoluted than that. So that's what I think. So we always think of it in relationship to the three primaries of the two primaries on the warm side being the ones that actually create the warmest hues we have. And then on the other side, on the cool side, we have one primary that is cool, and then all the other colors that go from that cool up towards the warm just get warmer as they go in that direction. You see, it's really a thing of beauty. Once you just kind of relax into it and look at it more three-dimensional, more in those terms than linear. It's just not linear. So that's that. Play with it a little bit and you'll see what I'm talking about if you're playing with hues. Let's see, Renee says, oh, not a question, but amazed that Richard Schmid had that same purple used as warm and cool in the painting. Really thinking about that. Yes, and that is one of the marvelous things that we can do with the temperature when we're really watching the temperature in our paintings. And remember, the earlier example I showed you before, the earlier example I showed you of the red-violet, as in the environment of warm hues, it becomes cooler. That same red-violet in the environment of cool hues feels warmer. And so, but when you go down on the Schmid, and we see Schmid's painting does that. Schmid does that an awful lot in his paintings, where you might have the same color that is playing the role of warm in one area, but that same hue, that same mixture, may be playing the role of cool in another area, depending on the broader areas of warm, of distribution of warm and cool colors. Terry asks, would a single temperature painting be less enjoyable? Well, if it were single temperature, that would mean it would be only one hue. And that means that only one hue, not one hue family. Now we think usually of monochromatic paintings, but monochromatic paintings are usually have the hue family. Now we think of the hue family like blue and its analogous hues on either side of it. So blue and then blue-green on one side and blue-violet on the other side. And sometimes people will go just a little bit beyond that to say blue to blue-violet to violet, still having some blue in it. Don't see that very often in monochromatic paintings, but you have that close analogous family that you see in monochromatic paintings, so there you can have some variation. But if you have a single temperature just in the color, that means that you don't have any neutrals either. You don't have any desaturated colors, because when you desaturate a blue, for example, just using that one color as an example, when you desaturate it and you're creating a neutral, it gets warmer. So you do a temperature change and you get warm. In fact, we actually do a temperature change when we change the value. It's not a great temperature change, but it does the value does affect the temperature somewhat. But I was dealing with just hue temperatures in this lesson, not considering the value temperatures, because within the same value range, all this will work the same. But then as any hue gets a little darker, its temperature is going to change. And as it gets a little lighter, its temperature is going to change. And that's going to be determined by how warm or how cool the color is. I would say a single temperature painting would have the same. What was your question? Would it be less enjoyable? I would think it'd be less enjoyable as far as the use of color goes, because is it a single temperature? It's going to be the same thing as black and white. Just a monotone black and white, where there is no color there. So if you just have a blue tone, like if you put a blue gel in front of a black and white painting, a painting done in values with just black, grays, and whites, etc. No temperature change there. Put a blue gel in front of it, and so I would think that would become less interesting, but doesn't mean necessarily it would not be interesting, depending on the subject of the painting. Or usually you consider that more than, I won't get too deep in the weeds on that though, be careful what I say. Terry says, oh, thank you for the explanation, I understand now. Wonderful. So yeah, that's an interesting thing. Normally in our cultural lingo, colors are talked about in generalities, and I'm not talking about as artists. And I'm talking about just in the cultural lingo. Colors are discussed in generalities. So you could say the color blue, and it can mean any kind of blue. You've heard people talk about they painted their rooms blue, or they got a blue car, or they did something's blue here, blue there. It could be any kind of blue. It could be a blue that leans towards green, or it could be a blue that leans towards violet, or it could be any range of that blue until it reaches the point where it doesn't feel blue anymore, or doesn't communicate, I should say, blue anymore. So, but I think for painters, or pardon me, in my experience, for me as a painter especially, having that awareness of hue, of exact hue as hue, and how we can use hue as hue without having that awareness, and the different sorts of the different hues that we have in our tubes of paint. Whether it's doesn't matter what kind of paint it is, doesn't matter whether it's watercolor or oil or gouache or acrylic or any of those, or even it doesn't matter if it's pastels. The different variations in the hues and the pastel sticks we have. Color's color. Hue behaves the same no matter what the medium. And one thing I get sometimes on comments comments from the quick tips. Sometimes I get, well, when I'm doing some kind of exercise with color, the comment would be, "Will this work in watercolor? Will this work in acrylic?" The composing principles and the way we use hue is part of the composing process. Composing is not just about arranging shapes. That's only a small part of composing. Composing has to do with every element we use to create paintings. Every visual element we use to create paintings. Now, so it doesn't matter those visual elements that we use in compositing paintings are the same no matter what medium you work in. They're the same in oils, acrylics, watercolor, gouache, doesn't matter. If you're doing anything that is two-dimensional, well, it works the same in three-dimensional too. But as far as the process of painting goes, doesn't matter what material you're using, color. All the principles work the same. Color works the same. The way you use it and the way you arrive at mixtures may be different, but the principles of color work the same. Okay, Bubsy asks, when painting a single pink peony, pink peony. Yeah, okay, you're talking about the single. Okay, what would happen there is that the temperature is going to change according to how the light's hitting that single pink peony. Now, if the temperature were the same on the single pink peony, if the temperature was the same, it would look two-dimensional, flat, and you wouldn't have anything but edges to define it. You'd have to use lines, contour lines around the edges to define it. But when the light hits any color, the temperature is going to change according to where the light's hitting surfaces of the color. According to where the light's hitting and how it's moving the shadow, the temperature is going to change along with the hue change. When the hue changes, the temperature changes. So when I noticed on pink roses, especially, that where the light will hit the belly of the rose, where the light hits the strongest, it's actually a very, very almost white. And depending on when we say pink, pink is simply a light red. And so, as it moves more close to shadow, sometimes we'll see it begin to get a little violet. You'll take on just a little bit of violet as it moves into shadow. So the temperature is going to change in that case. Should the background? Wait a minute. Okay. Mary Ellen says, Diane, can you talk a little more about how the change in value changes the temperature? It has to be specific to the hue itself and specific to the kind of light source. Are you surprised I said that, Mary Ellen? We have to do this by observation. Let me tell you what you can look for. You have to do it by observation. What we do when the light, now if we are adding color, if we're trying to create a color in paint, when we add a white to say an orange being a very, very high temperature color at its purest saturation, when we add white to that, we actually cool it, because the white paint subtracts out the warmth of it. So as we make it lighter, we're getting it cooler. Now, if we wanted to get that orange darker, then it's going to be a little less saturated. And so in that direction, it's going to get cooler too. As it goes in the direction of the shadow, it's going to get cool. And it cools down visually or perceptually. Visual, I'm talking about visual now. I'm not talking about physics, and I'm not talking about anything in the way color can get interpreted according to what the cones in your eyes are doing. Your cones in the eyes are causing us to see that. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about visual perception, pure visual perception. In relationship. So as an orange then begins to go into shadow, it gets cooler, but it doesn't get cool. It gets cool to a greater degree depending on the depth of the shadow. Then it will cool as it goes towards warm. Now that is the way paint works. However, in the measurement, if we were measuring that, it would measure, as the light's hitting it, it would measure stronger or hotter. So we have to deal with what the mix of what the materials do to each other. Because, you know, in painting, what we do when we have a color, one of the warm colors, like any of the yellows and oranges and reds, especially, but even sometimes even the red violets, depending on what they are, when we add white to them because of the nature of pigment and what the pigment does to that color, to the temperature of that color, we add a little yellow back in to make it retrieve its warmth, so to speak, like it will retrieve its warmth if it's in the warm light. I don't know if that was what you were asking for, or if it's not, Mary Ellen, maybe you can nudge me again and I can maybe elaborate on that just a little bit. Bobsy says, should the background be blue-green or yellow-green to enhance the pale pink peony? Well, we just can't make a rule about that or even a principle about that. It depends on so much. Now, just think about, it depends on value. It depends on, you know, what is the lighting situation? What is the color of the light that's coming in? And we call it pink, but is it pink leaning more towards blue, or is it pink leaning more towards orange or red? And we have a broad definition of the word pink. Pink is not really a hue. Pink is a generic name of a color. That's our. It ranges from a very, very light red, very, very light red orange, and in some cases I've seen people call a pink a very, 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 very light orange. Pink is also sometimes a very, very light red violet might be called pink. Well, you see, any one of those is going to behave differently against a blue or blue-green. Let me see, what was, get back to your question, green or, okay, blue-green or yellow-green. So it would depend on in which direction and just how much you want to enhance that pink. Depends upon the as I said before, the light and what the lights and shadows are doing on the peony itself. Many times, a better idea behind something like that depends on depends on if it's in a still life painting or if it's in a natural environment. If it's in a natural environment, it may have its natural color of the green foliage around it, or may even sometimes looking through it, depending on how your point of view, you might be looking through that and you might see some blue sky coming in. So there's so many variables. What we look for is what color does to color. Which way is that going to be most greatly enhanced? If you're doing a painting of a pink peony, for example, in which way is it going to be more greatly enhanced? Does it need more of a neutral background? Or sometimes, if it's a still life, for example, a lot of times the still life painters will take a combination of the hues that appear in the subject itself and sort of mix and intermix those to form a more neutral background that might lean towards the warms in some places and towards the cools in others. But the more neutral background will enhance the hue, and it could also change the feeling of the temperature. For example, if the peony, for example, is leaning more towards red-violet, then how warm or how cool your background is will determine also how warm or cool the temperature of the peony feels. So when we're using color together, the colors affect each other, just like the Richard Schmidt thing I showed you. The colors affect each other. What appears one way in the surroundings of one hue might appear or read, or we might perceive it totally different in the surroundings of another hue, warmish or coolish or whatever. So we just have to use our observation, and we have to watch what those colors are doing to each other. And that's part to me of the fun and the joy of painting, is watching that, watch it materialize and watch what those colors are doing to each other as we're working with them. I say, Patty, will cast shadows then always be cool? No, they won't. Cast shadows are going to be determined by the quality of light. They're going to be determined by the whether it's overcast light or whether it's direct light. They're going to be determined by what colors are bouncing from the environment back into them. So if anybody said, I mean, I know I've heard this awful lot of people say, cast shadows are always cool. They aren't. Get outside and study some cast shadows, and you compare the temperatures of them, you'll find out what I'm talking about. Sometimes the cast shadows will be warm, sometimes they'll be cool, and sometimes they'll be a combination of warm and cool. They may start out warmer, where they're closest to the subject that's casting the shadow, and they might begin to get cooler, moving away from it. All depends on what's going on. When we start making rules like that, we limit the possibilities. It's best to first know what colors do to each other, and then observe that. Observe what's happening to the color. What this color doing to that color? How would this appear if I took this away? How would it appear if I put something else behind it? That sort of thing just makes it a whole lot more fun to paint. Mary Ellen says, fascinating. Yes, fascinating. Good. It is. You see, that's why, all these things are why I fell in love with color. It's why I did my graduate work in color a few years ago. It's always been something that's fascinated me, I think, for as long as I can remember. It's not just color for color's sake. It's all those little things that color, it just seems to be full of endless possibilities when we learn how to look for it and learn how to look for what one color does to another. Rich asks, how would you cool down yellow trees to make them recede into the distance without turning them green? It depends on what's behind the yellow trees. Yellow-green trees. That just so happens, Rich, which is really interesting, that, and I know some of you that are present are taking the workshop Wednesday. And the workshop I'm doing Wednesday, the workshop is about balancing warm and cool. We try to do these topics by theme every month. So the workshop is about balancing warm and cool. Well, in my demonstration, there is an area of foliage that looks like it's yellow-green, and the foliage the foliage that's around it, it's really in the. I took the photo in the springtime, and so we're seeing the evergreen still. But evergreen sometimes will put out new sprouts in the springtime. But what's behind it are some deciduous trees that haven't started putting out foliage yet. And so we had that neutral background behind there. And then when I put that yellow-green as yellow-green, it didn't fit. It just didn't harmonize at all. But what I did there, I was using the sap green as my tube color. And so instead of mixing the yellow-green with the sap green, I mixed white with it. Or did I do that? Or did I add a little bit of, I think I did it two ways. I remember now, I think I raised the value and then with white, and then I added a little ultramarine blue to it, which cooled it. And on my palette, it looks like looks like kind of green, blue-green. But when I put it in that environment, it looked yellow-green. So how colors affect each other in their environment is going to determine what mixtures we use. So sometimes we can mix a blue-green or something that would be tend to leaning towards blue-green and put it in a different environment, more neutral environment perhaps, and it will look yellow green. It'll look yellow green because of the effect that the other colors have on it. It's a fascinating topic, absolutely fascinating. So that's what I'm going to be doing in the workshop. Now the workshop Wednesday, we still have I think 2 or 3 openings in there. So if any of you are interested, hop on over there to the academy and get yourself registered so you can be a part of that. It's a fun thing. And then it will be available, the course itself will be available in about 3 months on the academy. Let's see.
Lillian missed the last discussion on this.
Would it be logical? I don't know how to say your name. Is it Liliana? Liliana? I'm sorry, I can murder names. I mean, I can be a great murderer of names. But anyway, the question is, wouldn't it be logical to think if blue is the coolest, then orange is the hottest? Wouldn't it? Oh, how on earth would we possibly neutralize the coolest? We're neutral, and the saturation, which is what we're doing, desaturation is neutralizing. It's a totally different thing from temperature. Now, desaturation affects temperature, but it's a totally different thing. Maybe you came in later and you did, maybe you didn't see the video, or did you? Anyway, I'll explain it one more time because there might be others that came in later and didn't hear that explanation. That we can't think of the temperature of hues linearly. The process of temperature of hues does not work to think about it linearly. So the temperature of hues is based on yellow, red as the warmest hues, cool, blue as the coolest hue. Blue being the only hue on the color wheel or in the spectrum that does not have a warm color in it. And so if it's true that blue and orange neutralize each other, but that is a different characteristic totally from cooling or warming each other. And they do cool and warm each other, but not the coolest and the warmest. We have to think of hue in relationship to blue to red and blue to yellow. And in the way the relationships register visually, the red is not as warm as yellow. So the yellow is the warmest, the red is next warmest, and all the oranges, and red oranges are yellow, orange, and so on till we get to red. All those are in that warm continuum that are opposing the cool colors. And so what we're seeing there is not a direct relationship that we use when we neutralize colors, but it's a three-dimensional relationship of the way blue relates to all the warm colors, the way blue relates to yellow, and the way blue relates to red, and also the way it relates to all those colors in between. So it's just a different way of thinking. But when you see it diagrammed, if you didn't get here in time to see the video, this will be on YouTube in our in the live section of the what do you call
Channel.
it? Huh? Menu. Channel. Yeah. Go to our YouTube channel. Any of the on our YouTube channel, you will see the menu, and it has it divided into something or other: videos, live, something, join. I remember that, but anyway, can't remember it all. And in the category of live, LIVE, are all the live chats that we've done. So every time we do a live chat, the whole thing is recorded, and then it instantly goes on to the YouTube channel. So if you didn't get to see the video I did at the beginning that explains all that, do go take a look at that after we finish, and you'll see. I diagrammed it for you so that you could see that relationship of the proportion of hues that are in all the secondaries and tertiaries. Of course, with yellow, there's nothing but yellow in yellow, and red, nothing but red in your red, and blue, nothing but blue and blue. But then all the others are combinations somehow of primaries and secondaries. And so, so I don't know why I don't remember where I started the discussion. Patty says, okay, I think that makes sense. Wonderful. Okay. And so there are no absolutes. How to make it appear. Oh, there are no absolutes. This is Terry. And how it makes them appear, or how it makes you feel. No absolutes at all. It's all the result of what you do. And that, a lot of that, a whole bunch of that comes from you're being able to, you're observing what actually happens in front of your eyes in terms of the world you're looking at, and also watching what's happening to the color as you're mixing it and then as you're applying it. And when you put that color down on your canvas, take a look at what's happening to it in relation to the colors that are around it. Notice how they change each other. Colors do that. When you put them together on the canvas, they change each other to the degree to which they change each other. Just totally depends upon what they are, well, what their combination is. So yeah, it's all there. If you try to make anything an absolute, or contain anything into some kind of rule, then you limit yourself, and you limit the thing you're working with. You limit possibilities. When you open all that up and think of principles as things that do things, they're action tools. They are things that do things for us. We make them do things. And instead of trying to make a painting balance, for example, we balance it. And there's a difference, One's passive and one's active. And this in painting, it's always active. It's always active. And so if you try to put it into a passive rule, it just limits you. And that's what I have against people who, we have some people who publish books, and a lot of, maybe some of you honor those people and paint by their rules, but maybe you should question some of those rules, because there haven't been many of those I haven't questioned the rules of and found them a bit limiting. And so I don't like to be ugly or whatever, but it really is all an open-ended process, but it requires our continuing to learn and continuing to teach ourselves and make ourselves aware of what our eyes are actually seeing and what our hands can do to create according to what our eyes are seeing. Okay, I got off that gravy train for a while. You got, in the studio, Terry asks, in the studio, is the sunlight coming in a window neutral or warm cool? If there isn't sunlight, what light bulb would be best, warm or cool? Oh my goodness, yeah. Well, here we go. Whatever comes, you can take a light reader, a light meter that reads temperature, and you could use that light meter in your studio and measure the light coming through the window, starting in the morning, and measure it throughout the day, and you're going to see that temperature change as the day goes on. Now, I know the northern light is supposed to be the most constant light that has the least change in it. But all light coming through the window is going to change in temperature. Now, we have a quick tip on the lighting your studio, measuring or trying to get that as close to a neutral temperature of light. The recommendation, and this is not carved in stone necessarily, but the recommendation is around 5,000 Kelvin for a neutral, that is not too warm and not too cold. And in today's lighting, we have the Kelvin listed on whatever, and there's such an array of light bulbs and fixtures and all those things and lighting systems these days that it all depends upon what your situation is. Now, if you have a very simple situation, you might just look for a simple system that has the combination, like those combo lamps that have a warm and cool bulb in them. There's one thing, but then I think, do you remember which quick tip we did the temperature of light, the studio lighting? What do we call that? Studio lighting. See if you can find it, and I can tell them which ones to tell are them. All of them, really. So it's best that the lighting be as close to neither warm nor cool, towards to just a balanced warm and cool as possible. Because if not, now see, the other thing is you got to keep this in mind. There's no way you're going to control the temperature that your painting is seen under. Even when you take it out of your studio and you put it in a gallery, the lighting is going to be different. Someone's going to buy it and put it in their home, and where they put it, the color of light's going to be different. Best thing to do, well, have the most even lighting you can, and the closest to that, about the 5,000 Kelvin that you can, for your overall lighting of your studio, especially in your palette and where your painting is. But also, I think what I like to do I'm just saying, this is something I do. You can do it. You can try it, or if it doesn't work for you, it's okay. When I'm in the process of painting, especially when I reach that point where I finish, I'm within that block-in stage, just ready to go into sort of a refinement stage, I like to take it outside and see what the temperature and the colors are doing outside. And then I like to take it into a room of the house where the temperature's a bit warmer, where I have just on a warmer light. I'll take it into an area where it's a little cooler. I like to look at it in a more subdued light and then a brighter light, and just be sure that that it's as close as it can be to that the colors do what I want them to do in all those temperature situations. I know it sounds convoluted. It's just one of my quirks, I guess you might say. But I think you're safe enough when you have when you check out the numbers on the lighting fixtures that you get. Be sure they're in that 5,000 range, 4,800 to 5,000 range, something like that. If you have your temperature too warm, you're going to make your paintings too cool, because you'll be compensated without realizing you're doing it, and the vice versa is true. So when back in my early days in the 60s and 50s and 60s, when I was in school, we were told to light our studios with a combination of fluorescent and incandescent lighting. In those days, that's all we had. You remember? Maybe some of you do, and some of you don't even know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so they gave us a recommendation there. Someone had worked out the balance of the brightness that we needed. How many tubes of fluorescent, certain size we would need against how many bulbs of a certain watt of incandescent. And that would give a nice mixture of a white light. We call it white light when it's we don't want it either too warm or too cool. All right, so I hope that helped a little. It may sound a little bit like it's rambling, but sometimes I do that. Let's check on, oh Lord, we're almost out of time, folks. Let's see. Okay, Roger's got it up for you. Quick tip 306, studio lights and glare. So I tried to give you some information there that would guide you towards setting up. Let's see now. I've got time for one more question, and that would be Liliana. I hope I did it right. The 3-inch dimensional way to watch. The 3-dimensional way to watch a color. Lovely. Oh, it was just a comment. All right. Okay, folks, that's it. That's it for this one. Do we know which of the Sundays next month is going to be?
Fourth again.
Fourth again. Okay, that will be the month of July.
July, yes.
All right, you can just look for it, folks. The next month's chat will be on the 4th of July. Not quite sure what the topic's going to be yet, but keep looking for your email. If you're not on the mailing list, do get signed up, because that's where we keep you informed. And also we try to keep you informed if you're subscribed. I believe all subscribers receive, don't they? If they're a subscriber to our YouTube channel, yeah, they receive. If you subscribe, when you subscribe, click the bell. Be sure that you get notifications. Point my finger at you. I don't mean to do that, but that's just something I do. When you click the bell, be sure that you've set up your subscription so you can get notifications. So we always let you know when there's going to be. Give you a heads up when the live chats are coming up and what the topic's going to be. We always announce the topic a couple of days ahead of time, so that's just about it. Thank you. We've got a good little audience today. I appreciate so much all of you tuning in, and you asked some good questions, and you kept me babbling along during the whole time. So thanks a bunch. Enjoy the rest of your day, and bye-bye for now.